Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. The Delaware County Commission meeting for February 22nd, 2021 is now in session. Would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. Like introduction, I'm Gary Merrill, President of the Board this year. To my left is Vice President Commissioner Lewis. To her left and my left, Commissioner Benton. And our Administrator today, Mike Fromer. And Clerk, Jennifer Walraven. Take it away.
Resolution number 21-119, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held February 18th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 21-119. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-120, in the matter of approving purchase orders and announce certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0219 and procurement card payments in batch number PC APR 0219.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 21-120. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-121, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lee Bodnar, Administrator for the County Engineer's Office. Thank you for allowing us to come before you today. This is right-of-way permits. They're the typical permits that are issued. There's nothing out of the ordinary and no concerns. We thank you for your consideration and ask for your approval.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-121. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-122, in the matter of approving an amended cooperative project agreement between Delaware County and Radnor Township to submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, Commissioners. The project that was submitted was on the bubble of the OPWC funding round. In order to capture the funding dollars from OPWC, this amendment would change the local share, increasing it, and also matching that increase by the county's grant program. So that will enable the project to move forward with OPWC dollars. So we thank you for your consideration and ask for your approval.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, so with the amended local share, the increased local share, you think it has a very good chance of being approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what kind of timeline on this project?
We should know within the next couple of months when this will be approved. When is it scheduled for?
Yeah,
I believe
well,
next year.
Next year, okay.
Yes.
What are they doing?
That I don't have the
River Road?
specifics of the project itself, but I
Okay.
can get you that information.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know, just like keep track of what's going on. River Road's kind of an older, neat, it's a beautiful road. Okay,
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-122. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-123, in the matter of accepting improvements within the project known as River Bluff Section Line Road Improvement Phase 1 and releasing construction security.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Commissioners, this is for culvert work that was done by the developer, and it's been completed, inspected, and this would be the release of the surety bond over that work. So we would ask for your consideration and your approval.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-123. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Resolution number 21-124, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Karen Furs, Fiscal Manager. This supplemental is needed to return a payment on the Radnor Township Ditch Project, but it has since been dismissed.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-124. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Item number 7 Commissioner Lewis is recusing herself from. Resolution number 21-125, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for economic development.
So moved.
Second, discussion?
Commissioners, Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director. Before you is a request to allow for a supplemental in order to permit the department to move forward with working with United Way for $5.9 million in Treasury funds that was secured as a grant that would be available to United Way to support individuals in our community that are struggling due to a multitude of issues, including COVID-19, especially with rent issues or other types of housing-related items. Zach Dolly from my office has worked very hard on this item over the past few months, trying to put it together, working with many of the other individuals within the county structure, helping to move this forward. We very much appreciate all the great work they've put in to help keep this going. This is a new program and an extension of the partnership that we've had with United Way, where we provided with them approximately $350,000 over 2020 to address COVID issues and housing issues up to this point. This item will be again before you later today in order to keep it moving forward so that we can get the funds out as quickly as possible. However, we needed this action to occur first before signatures could be secured to allow you to vote on the final item. Again, that would follow executive session. Happy to answer any questions on this item at this time.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, this is consistent with what we've been talking about in terms of the dollars and involved in this resolution, consistent with what we've been talking about for a couple months now.
Yes, this is a new Treasury program that was launched that counties could take advantage of. Zach saw that it was open and available and moved forward with making those applications.
Okay. Yeah, I would also like to, you recognize United Way for their contribution. I think Brandon here, yeah, there's Brandon. I can't recognize him with the mask on. But no, I want to thank United Way, and this is a great program for helping residents who need help during this pandemic. And we've done some of it in the past, but this just extends it and expands it, so it's great to see that.
Yeah, and United Way has been a great partner throughout this process. Yeah. We appreciate all the hard work they've done.
And they're the right partner too. I mean, we couldn't have the infrastructure and staff and so on to do this, so United Way's good at it, and they know what they're doing, and they'll do a great job. Continue to do a great job.
I think we should also have Brandon under maybe when they approve the item, come up and talk a little bit about the rollout and the process would be good too.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-125. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
That brings us to Administrator Furlow.
Mr.
I
Farmer.
don't have anything to report other than the presentation.
Okay.
You ready for me, Jen? Just like last time with the pointer.
Okay.
Good?
You guys ready over here? You parked yourself pretty far away, so you're gonna have to move up. You guys gotta move up to the front of the church here. Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. Today the presentation we're doing today is very exciting. I've had the privilege and honor over the last probably six months to a year to work with the leaders of our social service organizations here in the county. And they're here today, and they're going to be talking a little bit about what this campus would mean for collaboration and how their departments, which already work very closely together, will continue to do that. We have Chris Hodge here, who's superintendent of our Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We have Deanna Brandt, who's the executive director of mental health, Delaware Morrow Mental Health and Recovery, and also Bob Anderson, our director of Job and Family Services. So, when we first started down the process, we talked about patient-focused treatment and the collaboration that's involved with that. So we had two kind of major goals as we started this project, was to come up with a forward-thinking collaborative social services model that will benefit the residents of the county now and in the future. Like anything in Delaware County, we are poised to grow. Our population is poised to grow. And so we must plan for current, future, and then ultimately what that's gonna do. And that just adds, I think, a level of complexity to the architects and engineers that we have, because they need to be able to fit our existing staffing, but then also as things happen over time. You can kind of see Marissa did what I consider to be one of her best graphics of all time, the social services umbrella. And you can see that at the top of that is JFS, mental health and recovery, and developmental disabilities. And I'm sure we've missed a few people in there and stuff like that, but I think you can see the goal of this campus is to provide those services. Next, we're going to turn it over, and you guys are going to hear from the experts about the benefits. I will tell you that having worked with these three individuals, I think right now is the time to be laying out these plans. I don't know, I don't think the county has ever had three professionals of this caliber leading these organizations, and I think time is to capitalize on their expertise and knowledge and work with that. So I think, Chris, you were going to kick off, correct? So.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be here before you today. I guess for the record, Chris Hodge, Superintendent, Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. So I just want to reiterate our commitment. Our commitment is to collaborate with each other to better serve all people in Delaware County. And just a brief history of my time here. It's almost 6 years that I've been here. That's really hard to believe if you sit back and think about it. I came here in May of 2015. And I come from Northeast Ohio. I guess I will claim Mahoning County and Columbiana County as my stomping grounds. And my brief experience there to kind of help us to get here is the collaboration piece. I come from counties that are rather poor, and you have no choice but to collaborate because there's really finite resources, lots of poverty, and those kinds of things. So we collaborated on a lot of different projects there, and the one thing I don't really like is silo thinking. I think we work better together. So that's how, when I came to Delaware, I was excited because I felt like we were really in a position where we could collaborate together. What really helped that process were the leaders that followed me. So first we had Deanna, and Deanna started at the Mental Health and Recovery Board in 2017. I remember really clearly the first time we met, and I was really excited. It was in the parking lot of Source Point, and we were going to a legislative meeting. And I was like, hey, we need to talk. We need to talk about how we can work better together. Like, I think really we're in silos and we can really work better. And she agreed. Deanna also comes from a different county. She's Northeast Ohio, but not my county. So again, you have more different thinking happening. Then Bob came. Bob came September of 18 as the Executive Director of Jobs and Family Services. And what's exciting about Bob is that he has a lot of experience in Seneca County, and he has that JFS piece, which I don't have, and I don't think Deanna has either, but there's a lot of collaborative efforts in Seneca County. I kind of look at the three of us coming together as the perfect storm. You've got a group of leaders here who are public service professionals, and they care about the community, and they want to collaborate. We have experience in our counties that's different from Delaware County, and yet we come together here today to talk about how we can do this best. So we all dislike silo thinking. We very much don't like the finger pointing in the financial realm of things. We really, really want to be able to work together and think about, and Mike alluded to this, the person first. When we're talking about how to serve the community, we really don't want to think about who pays for what as much as we want to think about how do we solve that person's problem together, collaboratively. And I think we're really, really good at that. And we all feel, all three of us, that we're all in this together. And we've really practiced that in the last couple years together. We're in this together, we work together, we want to best serve the people in Delaware County. So with that, I'm going to ask Deanna to come forward, and I believe she's going to talk about a collaborative effort we started when she first arrived in Delaware.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And can you believe it's been 4 years? Me either. And I know the first time that I was here, I told a story about moving here to Bexley with my daughter and then getting a place here. And just an update, she now lives here in Delaware with her husband, had a baby on Thursday, and is the bank manager for Buckeye State Bank in Powell. So see how that works? And, you know, I want to talk a little bit about a couple things. In a system like ours, we have a wealth of resources, and Chris referred to that. And you might think from a behavioral health or social service standpoint, there aren't risks attached to that. One of the things that Chris and I talked about early on, before you joined us, Bob, was what that risk was. And it's really fragmentation. Fragmentation of systems. It's a wonderful thing when you have an enormous network of care that our residents can choose where they want to go to seek services and have choices in that. But when the system doesn't work in sync, synergistically, then people fall through the cracks, and we were well aware of that. We were also aware that there's cost attached to that. When you work with people that you don't work with and communicate well about, and they do fall through the cracks, we meet at a level where we talk about people when they've reached an emergency level. Those higher levels of care, the most cost per service, the longest lengths of stay. We wanted to do something to address that. So we met in September of 2018. Chris Hodge, Ann Flannery from the Board of DD, and we drew that umbrella on the board of my office and took pictures of that and decided it was time to think about how to have a decision-making model. And at that time, we weren't talking about infrastructure. We were talking about decision-making, a model that made decisions based upon, let's first communicate in real time, figure out what the person needs, and then figure out how to pay for it. And that we could do that best as a group. And as part of that conversation, that umbrella got bigger and bigger and bigger as we added all of the community entities and community partners that we thought should be part of this. And that down the road, we wanted to be a part of this decision-making structure that was driven by what's best for the client and then figure out how to pay for it. And I think, Bob, you are next. You can take my spot.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Anderson with Job and Family Services. And I'm kind of touching base on our relationships. Chris had mentioned, you know, with the three directors, we have a very good working relationship. We trust each other. We can call each other at any time as our staffs are working together and things like that. The benefits of having a social service complex is not only bringing us together as directors, but our staffs together. Right now, we're kind of spread out. We don't have a soft handoff to each other. Our staffs don't really know each other. So we can bring them together. We can do trainings together. They can meet on site together and get to know each other and know who to call, who to reach out to for specific needs. You've heard me in the past talk about multi-system youth. You know, that is where the state is going. And we work together through Family Children First constantly now with multi-system youth. They're touching the DD world, they're touching mental health, behavior health. So, you know, by doing this, when someone comes in our office, all we have to do is walk them down the hall. Right now, we refer them to a phone number or an address. Once they walk out of our building, there's no guarantee they're pursuing that help. And this kind of gets us there. I've been in meetings in my other county, and here were people, you know, the finger pointing that Chris mentioned. Well, that's that department, or it's that caseworker. You know, when you know someone, when you know what they look like, you know what they're about, it's harder to do that. You pick up the phone, you get them the services they need. A lot of our services, Family Children First with multi-system, protective services, work a lot collaboratively. But our other side of the house, public assistance, you know, we have our OMJ center, our job center, you know, that can be referred by these other groups. Bring them to our job center. We'll help them get training. We'll help them get the jobs that they need. Bring them to our public assistance that we can help people get back on their feet so they can sustain. All that can be done under one roof. Again, if we're just making referrals, they're not going to come to us. We think just a natural transition would happen with this. We're at the roof, we're in and out of the building together, we're meeting together. So it's just, we can do our trainings together, we can bring people together, and everyone's going to be more comfortable, in our opinion, more efficient, and better for the residents of our county.
I think I'm going to talk a little bit, if it's okay, about why proximity. Oh, jeez. That's a good problem to have. You forget to take it off instead of forget to put it on, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about why proximity in terms of these services matters so much, why co-location matters. And Chris and Bob both referred to financial finger pointing, and I'm going to say historically where that comes from, that is not a function of Delaware County. It's a national phenomena in our field that's based upon old thinking, and the old thinking was, traditional thinking was, whatever issue occurred for a person first in time, chronologically, that's a system that had to pay for everything that occurred for them throughout their lifespan. That's the system we're looking to change, because that actually doesn't make sense. It was sort of a chicken and an egg thing. And we recognize developmental disability, mental health, addiction, poverty, trauma, they're all kind of dynamic, interconnected forces. And so for us to address issues that way as a community, we have to function in a manner that indicates we recognize that. And I said earlier, we want to address issues before they become high-cost emergencies. That's very important to us. And reduce the number of people who fall through the cracks. So Bob gave an example of you give somebody a referral card and you hope that they follow through. Research is so clear in what we do. And I'll give a quick, promise, pharmacy example. You write a prescription, and we study everything, so let me just say that. If a physician writes a prescription for any kind of healthcare issue and says, here's your prescription, it does not matter if that pharmacy is a block away. The likelihood that that person's going to obtain their prescription and comply with their doctor's orders goes up exponentially if that pharmacy is in-house. And you can say, I used to walk out the parking lot and say, go right over there. If you can walk them down the hall, engagement increases. And that all by itself will decrease the number of people who fall through the cracks. Now, the one piece of, there are lots of pieces of the project I'm excited about, and I think we're excited about as a group, but the biggest one for me is that crisis space. I mean, I want you to think about the level of diversion that will be possible, safely possible, for residents of Delaware County from the jail or from the ER, and it's cost shifting. The cost shift to us, right, for the operations of such a place. But that's where we think it should be, that we should absorb those costs. I think it's very important to think about it from that standpoint. Long term, this is an investment in a campus and a system that stands to absorb costs in such a way that we'll be able, as a behavioral health system, and I'm going to speak for us, to spread that money out across our continuum of care and help a lot of other people. And that's important to us. Musical chairs. That's right.
So, and I'm back just to wrap things up, but it's really just looking at the win for Delaware County, for our residents, for the services that we provide collectively, and kind of cost sharing those services, not only through our allocations and just bringing people together, but also in the building, funding of the building, sharing staff. We've talked about sharing some staff throughout the building that we could reduce our costs there as well. The locations in the center of the county, geographically the center of the county, so we're bringing everyone to the county. And I just think, as Delaware grows, this is where we're headed. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to kind of be the lead of this kind of complex and these services throughout the state of Ohio, and setting that business model that other counties will come and look to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm violating our order, but I wanted to just say a couple statistical things that I didn't mention before that I think are really important. So we serve at DCBDD about 2,284 people. Over 50% of those interface with JFS, over 54%. That's a lot of overlap. People with developmental disabilities and mental health comorbidity is anywhere from 30 to 70%, and most likely about 50% or more. So when you talk about people that overlap with what they need and who they need to see, this campus will bring together people that have comorbidity, that need JFS, and need us, that need waivers, that need mental health services. And we'll be able to do that better if we're together in one location. Thank you.
You guys are so coordinated, you even all wore blue today, so I don't know if you planned it or it just happened. So, can we
you
go
want
back
me
to
to go back to it?
Yeah, let's go back to the presentation, please. So as Bob had indicated, the Bixby campus location is ideal. Until you throw down a big blue star, you see that it's located next to the city of Delaware, or in the city of Delaware on the outskirts, which is the biggest population center, which I'm sure most of the clients for each of the organizations are located in public transportation will be available to. But as the county continues to develop, it is geographically in the center, and we'll be able to provide that. We also have Janelle, who's the architect for MA, and she was able to harness the brain trust that you guys just heard from. The last project she worked on with us was the engineering complex. I think the level of input from this group is a lot more expressive and a lot more than the previous. But you can see that the campus, short-term needs that you're going to see 3 phases outlined is the administrative building where the agencies will be located. Also, the agency providers for mental health and recovery would be in another facility. And as Deanna mentioned, the residential care and crisis center. There's also some long-term stuff that's just kind of brainstorm, there's been discussion with Veteran Services about a VA clinic in the future in Delaware County. Also multi-system youth home, intermediate care facility, and Job and Family Services child placement facilities. Those are not identified other than when we lay out the site, there's going to be additional space, but those will not be part of the initial plan. So, as we talked, you can see how important it is that these facilities are in close proximity. You can see that phase 1, which is the top part of the trapezoid, is the administrative building, and that's where developmental disabilities, job and family services, and mental health and recovery service boards would be located. The phase 2 would be the provider services building for mental health and recovery, and the current providers, Southeast Mary Haven, Helpline, Safe Harbor, NAMI, and however those continue to develop over time, if it's the same ones or additional or added. But you can see that the buildings are almost connected by walkways, but they're not connected. There's importance to keep the providers through contract relationships at an arm's length, but also be accessible for treatment as they've all spoke about today. And then lastly, the phase 3 would be the residential facility and crisis center. Currently the law enforcement and EMS in the county have pretty much, an option of either the person staying at home or going to the ER, and this would provide that. And you can see that there's separate accesses on the far points of the property, which would allow for the ambulance and the cruisers to access that facility. But the facility, as Deanna has talked about, would be operated by one of the companies that would be an agency provider. So in close location as well. Phase 1, you can see, it's a biggish building. It's 71,000 square feet. It's current staffing as well as future growth. Over time, you can see the setup and kind of the schematic on the bottom. It's a lot of natural light, a lot of, I'm getting into the area that I don't explain very well, but a lot of earth tones, right Marissa? Earth tone colors, things of that nature that fit the overall schematic. Kind of the preliminary plan for the administrative building would be that Delaware County would take the lead on this building. The preliminary estimate at a very budget, level through the concept stage is $17.5 million. The funding would be cash and/or bonding by the county. The sources of funds that would, go into paying for it would be a lease, with Job and Family Services, or it would go on our, cost allocation plan and be paid back over time. And Mental Health and Recovery would pay for their current site, and then we'd also be working with the developmental disability site currently in Orange Township on economic incentives to pay for the cost of the portion of the building. The schedule, we're looking at starting design this year, permitting and plan approvals next year, and then potentially construction in 2023. Typically our projects, with the current projects we've done, they all, by the time we, because you're looking at collaborative models that are looking at current needs as well as future needs, sometimes the design and the approval process takes a little bit longer, but it's always better to do it right than to push ahead with that and find out in the future that we didn't lay it out appropriately. The phase 2 building, which would be the providers, is currently estimated to be 60,000 square feet. And the tenants, Southeast, Mary Haven, Helpline, Safe Harbor, and NAMI. Janelle actually met with each of these organizations and did like a building programming and talked through the spaces and, so that feel pretty good about the size of the facility. On this building, the plan would be for Mental Health and Recovery to take the lead with a lot of assistance from myself and John Melvin. They've also, Mental Health and Recovery has hired Equity, and Scott Cubberley's here today, as their owner's agent to help work through the process. The preliminary project estimate is $16.4 million. They would be looking at funding the facility through cash and/or mortgage by Mental Health and Recovery and the providers. Obviously, Deanna's challenge and concern at the forefront was that the building is going to provide such a increase in treatment. She doesn't want the capital expense to reduce the level of services that are being provided. The repayment, obviously would be with, leases or cash by the providers that are going to be in the space. And we have a similar design, permitting and construction, schedule. Phase 3, once again, we talked about the needed resource for law enforcement, EMS, and the folks that are experiencing the mental health crisis. This would be operated by a provider. It's 16,000 square feet, and it's 16 beds, correct? 16 bed facility. And it would have direct access for ambulances and law enforcement cruisers. So,
Mike, let me just add here, with my work through Stepping Up and Cassie Neff and the sheriff, so that jail does not become a revolving door for those with mental health disabilities. I know I've heard from our own EMS and for many others, all of you out there too, this residential facility and crisis center is an absolute necessity. I mean, there just is, you can imagine I've heard the stories of people go to the ER. Well, they can't stay in the ER. And so therefore they just go back to wherever they were. And it's not good. So this is wonderful. It's great. Everything is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's, there's a lot, this is a lot. I mean, to come today to do the presentation, I mean, we're not, we're not expecting, to head straight forward with all of this immediately. There's a lot that's involved with this, but I think you'll see that We've taken a lot of time and effort to really understand. You guys heard firsthand from Christiana and Bob about how they wanted to treat their customers and clients and how they overlap. And like I said, I think, Janelle, this is like version 15 probably on how the buildings would be laid out to accomplish that. And on the residential facility, mental health would take the lead on that, but the county would assist, same setup. The preliminary project estimate's $5.3 million. I know Deanna has talked about looking for, state and other funding grant sources, that would assist in that construction. And currently, they provide support to a residential care facility that doesn't provide as much, ability to service, and they would be able to redirect some of those resources to, we have on this, and once again, it's very preliminary, starting design of the facility, making sure that it matches the overall, concept of the site. But we were expecting a little bit more time to get the state and federal funding lined up for the facility. So we have an extra year in there to help that occur. So I think the next steps, obviously, when you're working with 3 different boards, obviously you guys are the first to hear this information as we pulled it together. We would need to, we need to go and present to the developmental disabilities and also mental health and recovery. We think there's a need to purchase some additional property to the south of the current site. The storm drainage heads in that area, and then also for future expansion. The offsite drainage, and I've talked to the county engineer about the development of that road and so forth. We also need to work through potentially some land splitting of the current property for mental health and recovery. There's a lot of governance documents when you collaborate with the 3 agencies. This is going to keep Eric busy for a little bit to kind of map this all out. The phase 1, 2, and 3 projects, we feel like starting the preliminary design, is kind of a next step. Working with, supporting mental health and recovery on exploring some state and federal funding. And obviously, we've started this process, and we've done very conceptual level planning on square footage and dollar numbers, and so we would obviously start looking at some value engineering strategies as we go into preliminary design. Right now, these are very per square foot. You figure out how much square feet you need in a building. You put some square footage numbers on it based on some of the site characteristics, and but obviously, we were talking about pretty significant dollar amounts. So we would need to, we need to look at some value engineering strategies on those. So, any questions?
I'll start off. I want to compliment everyone for putting together a very good plan, well thought out. Obviously, it's very, very early in the process, so I'm sure things will change dramatically as time goes on. But so again, I want to thank everyone for collaborating. Again, big picture, I think this is a great concept. Something we need to continue to move forward on. The location is great. The combination, coordination of services is great. It will help the residents and clients. The big challenge is going to be financing. This is a big ticket, big complex project, and so I'll be glad to see how things progress on that front. Fortunately, I know you all have built up some reserves in anticipation of a project like this, so that's, I'm sure, going to be a huge help. But again, I think I just did quick math. We're looking at close to $40 million just construction costs of the 3 buildings. And that's a big number. So anyway, again, just very interested. You have levies that provide very good support. You've got reserves built up, so you've done the right things in the past to set the stage for a really forward-thinking complex like this. So I want to congratulate you, and sure we'll continue to have multiple discussions as things go forward. But I'm very interested in helping put this plan into motion and create this campus that would really be great for the whole community.
Yeah, I think that the challenge is obviously the financing. It's a very complex, when you look at having the three different agencies with governance structures coming together and mapping that out, and with levies and bonding and cash reserves and how all that, and that's one of the things that I would anticipate in the next 3 to 6 months we'll have hammered out very well, and now that we have our arms around kind of some bigger picture concepts and things.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you, Mike, for leading the effort, and then all of our different social services agencies for working so hard. Our architect on this too, and I'm so glad that Brandon Feller is here. Brandon, head of United Way, and John Brush, John is president of our board of United Way. I am on the board of United Way, which is why I had to recuse myself from the previous resolution. And there's one other one I'll probably have to I will recuse myself from. But anyway, just a quick question, will John and Brandon have a chance to speak later on?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. But this is, it's just terrific. It is the first step, but it is so well planned. And great things start with the first step. And I have confidence with the staff that we have, and with our all of our social service heads, that we can put this together and make it happen. So
yeah, I thought it was neat today. Today happens to be the day we talk about this, but then also the grant to work with United Way to help the residents. It's definitely a day of helping the residents today.
Yes.
at commissioner session. So
that's right.
My turn. I'm probably going to be a little more negative. You probably expected that. Some of you did. I see some nods. It's kind of like baseball, motherhood, and apple pie. If you don't support it, you're not a good person. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. Philosophically, I was a big part of getting the project and DD worked out to free up the cash for their moving forward. The question comes, how are we financing it? I cannot support financing with general fund dollars in any shape or form. And I have said this over the last 6 months, 9 months, a year. I need to see a plan that shows how this is going to be paid for by the entities that are going to be involved. And I don't feel like I'm either not being heard, or I'm not listening very well, and I'm not sure where it is, but Commissioner Benton mentioned $40 million. We went from a social service building to a phase 2 and a phase 3. This thing has grown exponentially. And I'm not questioning the reasons of the need. The question is the affordability, the practicality, and being pragmatic. So for me to be supportive, I've got to see a plan that shows how this is being paid for by these entities and not fall in the general fund. And that includes the operation of the building, that includes the land the building sits on, and I don't think it's unreasonable. My responsibility is the fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers in this county, all 120,000 roughly of them. And I see some nods. I think people appreciate and understand what I'm trying to say. But it's important that someone say that today as this plan is put together. And so I need to see a timeline, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And I'm not sure I can support the county handling the bonding on this, when I think there is funding out there within these organizations. Because my fear is ultimately it'll fall back on the county at some point. So I don't intend to sound negative. I'm just trying to be pragmatic. I'm trying to say what I think others may think but may not want to say at this point. So I guess it's in the details. But for my support, in summary, I've got to see how this is going to be financed in total by the organizations involved. And I realize JFS is a little bit different animal, so that's an explanation that will be unique. But somehow in the scheme of things, what the county is currently putting into that organization, that it's not going to grow beyond that. So those are my comments. So I guess the next 3-6 months are important. Until I see something, the architectural part of it really is irrelevant to me, until someone can show me how this is going to be financed. So those are my comments.
Yeah, no, I think that was our plan all along, and you know, we have heard that. I think it's, you know, the challenge is, you know, when you work with levies, you know, the ability to bond long-term on a levy, and so that's where I think when you see the county taking the lead on the bonding on that, I think it's, you know, as a conduit, you know, to finance the overall project, given the restrictions, and we'll map all that out. And I think that's, you know, we need to start, you know, with the cost and the overall plan, and we'll work through all those details, so. Anything else? Okay.
So,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
and thank you all.
Yeah.
I have the highest respect for what you guys do and the value you provide to the constituents in our county. I thank you very much for that. I hope my comments are understood. And I'd love to talk to any of you individually if you want to help me better understand. Is that it?
Well, that would bring us to Commissioner Committee reports.
Okay, Commissioner Benton.
Just a couple things. Let's see, had COIC board meeting last week. Things are going well there. Participated in a call, I think all of you did, on the Columbia Gas pipeline extension to learn more about that. Columbia Gas is very interested in extending their pipeline through Delaware County into Union County to provide gas service, primarily in Union County, but it was encouraging to hear them. They're very interested in working with the neighbors to make sure it's done as intrusive as not possible. I think I said that right. Make it the least intrusive possible. So they're moving forward on that. They're working with the residents. They're going through the process, and that's encouraging. Been working on the Bixby funding. Speaking of funding, which is very important, the Bixby campus and how we're going to provide funding for that. Working through the details of that, and that's very interesting. Morpsey had a regional housing session last Friday that I participated in. It was again interesting. Housing is very important to Delaware County, and workforce housing in particular. So they're putting together they put together a group that's working on that to move forward various initiatives to improve housing, which improves workforce availability for our community. And then lastly, just want to mention the Smart Shopper card got sent out. I got mine. Smart Shopper is a program, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is a program that it offers cash payments to individuals who do research through SEBCO, which is the county's health insurance plan, to look at alternative ways of providing health care services. And if they find a way to provide it cheaper, they get an actual check from the provider, from SEBCO. So again, it's one of those tools that I think will help us mitigate healthcare costs going forward, because there is an incredible range of costs for just routine procedures. I mean, it's tenfold. You know, you go to the cheapest to the most expensive, it can be tenfold difference. And if we can get our healthcare insurees to look at ways to save costs by using this Smart Shopper program and actually benefiting personally, financially, then it could help everybody. So anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Lewis.
And were you on that regional housing strategy call with Morpsey too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So was I.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, the thing too, they went through the different types of housing, which was very interesting. Chris Nicely, who is a CEO emeritus of Next Step Network, he mentioned mobile homes have not been built since 1976. And then they broke down various types of homes, modular homes constructed in the same facilities as manufacturing homes. And manufacturing homes are built to HUD specifications, rolled onto a foundation affixed to the ground. And they do have the same appreciation, depreciation value as regular homes that are built
Yeah.
normally.
They're not really like trailers like we're used to thinking of. Those
Right.
really have not been made, but this is housing that's built in a factory indoors.
That's
and then
right.
shipped to the site.
The housing was
It's very nice. It's very
Yeah.
comparable.
very, very nice. You
and
never
cheaper.
know. So it was very interesting session. Our Zach from our Economic Development Department has been our lead on this, but MORPC brought together a lot of good people here and continues to do so. So we're having this discussion that we need on affordable housing in Delaware County and in the region. And that's it.
Thank you. First of all, the central group, we talked a couple weeks ago about dividing into 5 areas in CCO and having a central
Yes.
group. That's going to be made up of 12 counties, and I only have one map.
Okay.
But basically, it's going to be Richland, Morrow, Marion, Knox, Logan, Union, Delaware, Licking, Franklin, Madison, Pickaway, Fairfield, Perry. Basically, the central counties. I got a text from Tim Bubb, who's president of CCO, Saturday, asking would Delaware County be willing to host the first meeting of that group, partly because of our location. We're kind of centrally located. Also, he thought it might be an opportunity for us to show off the remodeling. And he suggested the month of June. With your blessing, both of you, if you would provide dates to, Marissa had a conversation this morning. If you'll provide dates in June, he said Wednesdays or Fridays.
Okay.
Wednesdays or Friday dates in June, and I'll submit dates as well. And whatever dates we have in common, I will then text to Tim or email him and let him pick one from those dates. So, Marissa, when we come up with a couple, 3 dates, it might be good to let us know so we can hold them so we don't inadvertently schedule something else, because it may take 3-4 weeks. The theory was a half-day meeting, breakfast, we'd provide that. Meet, depending on the numbers, and I'm not sure what numbers to expect. Are all commissioners going to come? Are administrators going to come? County engineers? We could be talking 30, we could be talking 60 or 70. So if it gets too large, we don't know the situation with COVID at that stage.
Right.
I remain positive that we're going to be far down the road. But our largest location would be the Board of Elections. Second might be this room here, again, based on the numbers. So we'll have to be a little flexible on that, I think.
Yes.
Then ultimately, we could have them back here for a tour if we have to do it outside. So are you on board, both of you?
Sure.
So if you'll provide dates to Marissa, let's say by tomorrow, Wednesdays, Fridays in June, and then we'll take it from there. Only other couple things I have is a CCO board meeting was last Friday, and it was quite lengthy, I might add, as these virtual meetings tend to be. And I haven't got my shopper card yet, so I haven't come in
I
there
just
yet.
got it, I think Saturday.
So hopefully it'll be there today or tomorrow.
It's a little
I got
wallet-sized
it.
thing with instructions on how to do the program, so
Okay.
it's good.
If there's nothing else, I do believe we have need for executive.
We do have need for executive, but we do also have the information that we need to act on item number 12, if the board would like to get that out of the way before we go into executive session.
Okay, proceed.
Resolution number 21-126, in the matter of approving the Emergency Rental Assistance Program subsidiary agreement between the Board of Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio, and the United Way of Delaware County.
So moved.
Second, discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Daly, Economic Development. This is
Introduce
the
yourself.
Zach Daly, Economic
Okay, I
Development.
apologize.
No. Before I let Brandon Feller, President of United Way, come up and talk a little bit more about this wonderful program, I just wanted to thank everyone involved in the process. Thank you, commissioners, for letting us pursue this opportunity. Thank you, County Administrator Fromer and Auditor Keitza and all the staff involved in this process. It's a huge project, and everyone's help was necessary on it. So with that, I'm going to let Brandon Feller come up and talk a little bit more about this program.
Thank you, Zach.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brandon Feller, President of United Way of Delaware County. I have with me John Bush, who's chair of our board. I just wanted to introduce him and invite him to just say a few words on behalf of our board in relation to this program. If John would join me.
Good morning. John Bush, chair of the Delaware County United Way. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for your consideration and looking at the United Way the way that I do. And on behalf of the board, I can stand here and assure you that this team has done the due diligence to prepare themselves for what this grant could do for the communities here. We can't begin to understand what the emotional impact that these families go through during this pandemic year. But what we can understand is the tremendous burden and emotional relief that they get from this type of support. Brandon and his team have done an excellent job in preparing for this journey, but they've also gone outside to bring in outside supporters to take a look and audit the process that they're going to follow to make sure that we're following and meeting all of the federal regulations. That too has been blessed, not just for our internal team, but as I stated, for an outside audit agency to make sure that we're prepared to do it the proper way. So the confidence that the board has in this team, I come here to tell you that it's there, it's supported. This team is ready to move forward with it. With your blessings and support of it, we look forward to moving forward with it. Get your blessings today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you for coming.
Well, I want to thank the commissioners, county administrator, the economic development team, Zach Daly, who we worked so closely with through this process. This was a great opportunity that was made available through the federal government. We, for a number of years recently, have had our Pathways to Hope program, which I think you've become familiar with, which is a partnership, a collaboration with many organizations in the community that provides rent and utility assistance programming to families in crisis. What's a little bit different is that it's a collaboration. And so starting with the pandemic, what we did differently was started meeting regularly, weekly, for sometimes 2 hours a week in partnership with our clients and with a privacy agreement that they've allowed us to share their information across agencies, so that we're able to discuss their cases with agencies like People in Need are a part of this, Salvation Army, Jobs and Family Services. We recently added Veteran Services. Zach is a part of this, and so I always look at Zach as the county's watchdog in this process, and so that's great to have. Andrew's House, Community Action, others. And what's really nice then is we're able to pull the assets of the community together. And so what this may look like is People in Need may say, in a particular instance, we can help pay the electric bill if you can pay the rent this month, or whatever the case may be, and make referrals back and forth. And so rather than all of the burden falling on one agency, we can really pull our assets together and get the best result for the client. With this emergency rent assistance program, obviously the scale is much larger. And so as John mentioned, one of the things that we've done recently is made sure that we are able to staff up, that we have the internal controls, that we're ready to take that on, and we believe that we are. We're in the process right now of hiring some additional navigators, which is our fancy word for caseworkers. That will be happening here in the next couple of weeks. We believe we'll be fully operational by the second week of March and ready to begin with this program. Another piece that we've done is added an online streamlined case management software so that we'll be able to do the federal reporting guidelines and pull the reporting data for the county and for the federal government much more efficiently. Basically, what we're focused on is providing the assistance to as many people as possible that are eligible, and not just in one particular part of the county. We want to do outreach all over. We'd love to set up at places like People in Need, Second Ward, churches, townships, all over the county, and with whatever partnership that we can, and have that collaboration, get this out there to families in need. Not just as a benefit for them, but as a benefit for the whole community, because as those dollars ripple through the economy, through the landlords, through other businesses, it's going to lift everybody in Delaware County. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions or comments?
I didn't really have anything else. Again, this program, I think, is very well structured and targeted, and you guys are the right organization to take the lead on it, because we just don't have the resources or the expertise. And so, again, I think it's a nice combination that you're able to do this and deliver on it. So thank you on behalf of all the residents and the community at large.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been phenomenal to work during this pandemic with the county and all of the staff. It's been very helpful for the citizens.
Well, I appreciate all United Way does. As you know, I'm a former board member as well, and I think it is in the hands of the right people. The grants will come and go, and so that means there has to be an understanding that when they go, you're going to have a challenge. So I'm not saying anything you don't already know.
Yeah.
And but I think it's in the hands of the right organization, and I have the highest respect for United Way and all that United Way does, and look forward to being part of the process to get this money in your hands.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Okay. Call the vote.
All right, now we have resolution number 21-127, vote, sorry. Vote on motion 126. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
And Mrs. Lewis has recused herself.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Resolution number 21-127, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of appointment, employment of public employee or public official for pending or imminent litigation and for security arrangements and emergency response protocol.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 21-127. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.